me share my screen. Can you guys see my screen? Okay. So the first problem, I'm just gonna go through the Python loop exercise 3. And so it says to write a program, print the following pattern, write a program to print the following number pattern using a loop. So we want this as our expected output, right? So on my Replit, I'm going to start my code, and before we do it, I'm just gonna, because we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 rows, we're just gonna start with the number of rows. So I'm just gonna put row is equal to 5. Equal to 5, and then so we want to start with the first row, right? And so we start with 1. So yeah, we're gonna start with 1. So and we want to run the loop 5 times because we want to print 5 rows. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a for loop. So for I in range, and then we want to start with 1, the first parameter, first element of the whole row. So we start with 1, and we want to print from row 1 to row 5. So if we want to include the 5th row, we have to add 1, and then we want it to count by 1. So we'll just put 1 there, and then we put a colon at the end, and then I'm going to have another for loop inside this for loop. So I'm just going to put for j in range, and the same thing, I'm going to have it start with 1, and then we want to iterate by this for loop, which is I. So we're going to put 1 comma I, and then plus 1, because that's what we want. We want it to iterate through those letters, through those numbers. So we do that, and we print j comma end, because we want it to end with a space. We don't want it to just print 1, 2. If you see here, you don't want it to just be 1 and then 1, 2 right away. You want it to skip, so 1 space 2. So we put a space there, and then what other things? We have 5 rows, we count, so we put that. We put spaces in between. Oh, and we also want like an empty line after each row. So we're going to have print just like that, and that should do the exercise. So as you can see, it prints, oh, not the first one. Row 5. There you go. Yeah, it's kind of, I don't know why I can't see it, but oh, it's like that. So it should have 1 in the top right here, and then you have 5 rows: 1, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that's 5 rows, and in each row you have it counting, numerically. So 1, and then 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and you have all the numbers spaced out. So yeah, that's what we want it to loop through. So that's it for exercise 1. And then yeah, you guys can let me know if you guys have any questions. Oh, is my screen too small? Is it better? Is my screen better? Okay. So the next exercise says calculate the sum of all numbers from 1 to a given number. Write a program to accept a number from a user and calculate the sum of all numbers from 1 to a given number. For example, if the user entered 10, the output should be 55, parentheses, 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4 plus 5 plus 6 plus 7 plus 8 plus 9 plus 10. So the example is right here. So you have an example right here. So example, enter a number. So we ask the user and the user input, and we input 10, and the sum is 55. Okay. So you're just adding from 1 to 10 when you input 10. So if you input, for instance, if you input 11, then you would print, you would do 1 plus 2 plus, and then till plus 11. So, okay. So let's go through this exercise. Let's erase this. So we're just going to start with like an empty variable. Well, not an empty variable, a variable that is given the value of 0. So I'm just gonna have the variable named s. You can name it whatever you want. And s is equal to 0. We're just gonna have it equal to 0. And then now we want to print the program accept the number from a user. So we want to create the user input. So I'm just gonna name that n is equal to int because we want a number, and then input, and we want it to ask enter number. Okay. And so basically what we're doing here is we're creating this variable so that we can add on to this variable for what we print. We're going to update this variable to the number that we're going to print later on. And for this variable, we have n. In this variable, we're going to use this to loop this many times. So we're going to basically loop n times. So now let's make the for loop. So I'm just going to put for I in range, and then we always start with 1. Well, in this case, we're going to start with 1, and we're going to print n plus 1 because we want the last one to be included, comma 1. We want it to increment by 1. So we have that. And now we want to change the variable s. We want to update it by the index. So because we're basically doing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And what if you input like the number 100, for example? You don't want to count yourself, right? You want the computer to do that. So you can just put s plus equal to I. This is the same thing as s is equal to s plus I. So s plus equal to s plus equal to I. And then you have this. So now you're basically done with the whole program, and you just have to print it. So you want to print sum is colon, comma s, right? And what I'm going to do before here is, because we want all of them, that's not really a condition, but I'm also going to put print just read this one more time. Calculate the sum of all numbers from 1 to a given number. Yeah, so yeah, we want it to follow the input number, and if we input 100, for instance, then it's going to input from 1 to 101, so it's going to include 100, and so it's going to just do 1 plus 3 plus 1 plus 2 plus 3 till 100, and it will print the sum. So so let's run it and let's see if this code works. Okay. So we're going to enter a number, and it's going to enter a number, and I'm just going to put 10, right? So 10 sum is 55, like the example, that's what we get. So yeah, we coded this correctly. So yeah, this is how you do exercise number 2. Moving on, we have display numbers from a list using loop. Numbers is equal to bracket 12 comma 75 comma 150, comma 100, 180, comma 145, comma 525, comma 50. So we want the output to be all these numbers in the list, but in different lines. So let's erase this. So we're gonna start with, we're just gonna create the list itself. So the list, it was 12, 75, 150, 80, 180, 45. Okay. So we have numbers, that's the list name, is equal to bracket 12, 75, 150, 180, 145, 5. So now we have the list, and then we want it to print these, right? So what we can do is we can just okay, so we can just do for I in numbers, and then if we print numbers, I believe it should work. So you just have the list and you for loop through the list, so it should print each element in the list in different lines. So it should, oh wait, my bad. For I in numbers, numbers. Oh, I think there's a little bit of typo in this. So what we're gonna do instead is we're just gonna have, I'm just gonna change the problem a little bit. So I'm gonna take this for this. I'm just gonna have it expect the output of just 75, 150, and 145. Yeah, so this is, I think it's a better question. So for your reference, it's just right here. Yeah, so going on. So what you would do is you would make the number variable, that number list, and that's the same. So numbers is equal to 12, 75, 50, 150, 180, 145, 525, 50. That's the same thing. And because we only want these specific numbers to print out from all this whole list, we're going to have for item, for it both works, but I'm just going to use item and numbers. And then I'm going to put if item is greater than 50, right? Because we're trying to separate these into sections, so we have to have if statements so that we set conditions. And if item is greater than 50, and then we're gonna have it break because we don't want anything greater than 500, right? So so this basically, this if statement kind of just knocks this number out, 525. And then we have elif item is greater than 150. So if item is greater than 150, so that knocks out this one and this one, right? So basically these two are not there anymore. And then continue, you're gonna just continue. And next elif statement, elif item in the modulo 5 is equal to 0. Print item. So what we're doing here is we're just checking, we're using modulo. So we're checking if the item in the list is divisible by 5 kind of, and we see if the remainder is 0. So if it's yeah, and if it's equal to 0, and then we print the item. So if we have this, and if we run this, we should be printing 75, 150, 145. So yeah. Okay. To the next exercise. So it says count the total number of digits in a number. Write a program to count the number of digits in a number using a while loop. So we have number is equal to 75869, right? Right, that's 75869, and we want to print the total number of digits in a number, which is 5 in this case. So we're gonna put a count variable is equal to 0, and we're gonna loop through it. So we're gonna put while num is not equal to 0, right? Because while it's not equal to 0, we're gonna loop till it's not equal to 0, and then we're gonna put number is equal to num divided by 10, but this division, what it does, it truncates the decimal. So basically, if you have a 1.5, then you're only going to print 1. You're just getting rid of the decimal. You're cutting out the decimal. And then from here, so far what we did was we made the while loop and set a condition to loop through it until it's not equal to 0. So until it's 0, basically. And number is equal to number divided by 10. So we're basically cutting the number down to a lower number. So after that, we're gonna try to increment the counter by 1. So we have count is equal to count plus 1, right? We're incrementing it. And then finally, after the while loop, we're gonna print the total digits are colon count. We're gonna put the count. So now if we run this, it should say total digits are 5, and it does. It does say total digits are 5. So yeah, that's it for exercise 4. Moving on to exercise 5. Print the following pattern. Write a program to use for loop to print the following reverse number pattern. So I'm gonna erase this. And so write a program to use for loop to print the following reverse number pattern. So it's similar to what we did, I think it was our first exercise. Yeah, it's our first exercise. It's just we're reversing the first exercise. So it basically only requires one more step from what we did. And we kind of have to change it. So we start with n is equal to not 0, but we start with 5 because as you can see, there are 5 rows, right? So n is equal to 5. And then I'm going to have the other variable k is equal to 5. And you'll see what that variable is used for as we move on the problem. And then for I in range 0, comma, n plus 1. Okay, so we're iterating through, we're going to for loop it till it reaches 5 plus 1, so 6, and it's going to include the 5th row. Okay. And then inside the for loop, like we did in exercise 1, we're going to add another for loop. So for j in range, and then we're going to have, since we're going backwards, we're going to just do k minus I, because we're going backwards. So 5, which is k, minus the I, which is the index, and then comma 0, right? We want it to go till 0, comma -1. -1 because we want to decrement. We don't want to increment in this case, so we end it with the colon. And then we print j comma end because we want to end it with space. We don't want it to just be 1, 2. We want it to be, as you can see here, there are spaces in between the numbers. So end and then quotation mark space. And then we print just the empty. So I'm just going to explain this code just one more time. So basically you're going to start with 5 because you're not starting with 0. Obviously you're going backwards. And then you make the for loop as it starts from 0 and it goes till 5. However, inside the for loop, you make another for loop that basically explains the computer how to go backwards instead. So you're going backwards through these parameters that are given, and you're printing each number and ending it with space, and you're printing the whole thing. So if I run it, it should reverse the code and it should print it. All right. Exercise number 6. So I think this is kind of similar to what we just did. It requires reverse, but it's a little bit different. We're going to use the real, yeah, we'll go through it. So print list in reverse order using a loop. Given list 1 is equal to 10, bracket 10, 20, 30, 40, 50. So let me copy this. So that's our list, and we're going to start with that list. So there's 2 ways to do this problem, and I'll explain the first way first. So this is the simpler version. So you're going to have list 1 is equal to 10, 20, 30, 40, 50. And you're going to reverse it. So we're going to do new list. We're just going to make a new list. Is equal to reversed list 1. Okay. So this is basically a method, you could call it. But if you don't know this method, it's okay, because I'll go over the solution of not using the reversed and getting the same answer. So this is just using the reverse method. So reverse, like, pretty straightforward. It just reverses. So it basically the new list is, instead of starting from 10, it starts from 50. It goes from 50, 40, 30, 20, 10. So that's basically this new list. And then you're going to iterate the reverse list. So for item in new list, we don't want to iterate through the list 1. It says iterate through the new list. So iterate through the new list. And then after you iterate through the new list, you're just going to print the item. So if you do this, you print 50, 40, 30, 20, 10, all in different lines, just reversed. Okay? So this is solution 1. So I'm going to put solution 1. Okay, this is solution 1. So now solution 2. This requires like one more step, maybe 2, but you don't need to have the knowledge of the reverse method, which is good to have, but if you don't know it, then you would probably use this method. So you start off the same, you make the list. 1 is equal to 10, 20, 30, 40, 50. So we first have to get the list size. So let's get the list size. So size is equal to length of list 1, right? So we got the size, but we have to make it -1 because the index has to start with 0, right? We have the index start with 0. So now we start off with 0. So we're going to now iterate through the list in reverse order because that's the problem. We want to reverse it. So how we reverse it is for I in range, we just use the for loop, and we start with the size, which is 0 right now, right? And we go backwards. So we go to -1, which is the last number, which is 50 in this case. However, we're going to decrement, so -1. So we start off with 0 and we're decrementing, and we end with -1, which is the last index. So if we have this and we print list 1 bracket I, because we want to print each of these numbers, and if we print it, it's going to run the exact same thing. So yeah, there's 2 ways to do this problem. This one requires the reverse method, but this method is what you guys should know. Yeah, we learned everything in this one. So yeah. Yeah, so that's it for exercise 6. And this is exercise 7. Yes. So this exercise is really simple. Display numbers from -10 to -1 using for loop. So this is basically the same thing as number 3. Um, yeah, it's basically the same thing. So I'm just gonna erase all this. So you don't need any variable here. You don't need to start off with -10 or anything. I mean, I guess you can, but it just requires more steps. So I'm just gonna have for num in range, and then start off with -10, comma, and then have it end with 0, and then increase to 1, and then print num. And that's literally it for this exercise. So I'll just explain this one more in depth really quick. So for num in range, right? So you're starting off with -10 and you're incrementing. So you start off with -10 and you go -9, -8, -7, and you end till 0. However, you never include 0, so you're going to end at -1. I mean, yeah, -1. So your print should look like -10, -9, -8, so on and so forth till -1, right? But since we're printing them each after we print -10 and then we loop through the for loop again, we have to have it all in different lines. That's just how the computer is going to take it. So if you run it, it should have -10, -9, -8, everything all in different lines. And that's what we have here. So yeah, that's a very simple, straightforward exercise. Um, so exercise 8, yeah. Exercise 8 is a little bit more complex. So let's read this problem together. So write a program to display all prime numbers within a range. So example, 6 is not a prime number because it can be made by 2 times 3 is equal to 6. So prime number, if you don't know, is basically a number that doesn't have any, so yeah, like it's only a multiple of 6 times 1, like the number itself and 1, and it doesn't have any other multiple. So or any other factor, I guess. So like 2 times 3, because 6 has 2 times 3, which is equal to 6, it's not a prime number. 37, as you can see, the only thing that makes 37 as a product is 1 times 37. There's no other number that can multiply and become 37. So that's why 37 is a prime number. So we just want the computer to determine if a number is a prime number or not between the range. So the range made here, so we're going to have the input start number as 25 and input end number as 50. So it's going to tell us what prime numbers there are between the range of 25 and 50. So 20 prime numbers between 25 and 50 are, and it lists the prime numbers between them. So that's the code that that's the program that we're going to make right now. So yeah. So let's start with the start. So we're gonna have start is equal to 25. Okay, we're just gonna take the same example and we're going to end with 50. Okay, and then you're going to print prime numbers between. Okay, and we're gonna put prime numbers between the starting number 25 and the ending number. So we're gonna put print prime numbers between comma starting number, right? That's the variable is in start, and comma the ending number. And then we put R, and then the number it's gonna print in the bottom, right? So these are the codes that we start with. So right now we just have, basically if we print this, let me try printing it. It's gonna print prime numbers between 25 and 50. Okay, now we have to work on the bottom part of the code, right? For it to actually print the prime numbers between these, the start and the ending numbers. So we're going to start off with the for loop. So for num, I'm just gonna put num in range, and then we're gonna start with the starting number and with the ending number +1, right? Colon, because +1 because we the ending number never is included. So if we want to end with the ending number, then we have to add 1. And then we have the next step should be we have to add a condition, if statement. So what is the if statement? So if number is greater than 1, so that will be our first if statement. If number is greater than 1. Because all prime numbers are greater than 1, right? Yeah, all prime numbers are greater than 1. And if number is less than or equal to 1, then we have to add a different condition for that, because if number is less than or equal to 1, then it is not a prime number. So if number is greater than 1, and then I'm going to add another for loop in here. So I'm going to put for I in range. And I want it to start from 2 comma num, because this is because we have to find the prime number, right? We're not iterating just because we're looking for the prime number. So 2 comma num, and then we have to check for its factors. So let's check. If num modulo I is equal to 0, right? So if the number is divisible by the index and it's equal to 0 because it's divisible, that means if that's the case, then it means that it's not a prime number. So therefore we only want to print prime numbers in this case, so we just want to break out of the loop. Okay, and we want to look for the next number, because as you can see, it's not a prime number, so we don't want to print it. So we just break out of the loop, and then we make an else statement. So else, if it's not, and we don't make it in this for loop, we'll make it in the outer for loop right here. And then we want to print the num, because this is the case if number is greater than 1, right? And prime numbers has to be greater than, prime numbers has to be greater than 1. So oh, If else, I think I made a little bit of mistake here. Let me see. Starting 25. No. For I in range. Oh yeah. Okay, yeah, I found the problem. So, yeah, I forgot to indent the else statement. So if you because it has to be part of the if statement, it has to be inside. So you have to put the else statement inside the if statement. So it's going to avoid the for loop, but because it has all prime numbers has to be greater than one, no matter what. Like, well, all the numbers has to be greater than one. So we put if number is greater than one, and then we have the else statement, and this tells us if it's divisible by. This tells us that it's out of the for loop, so it no longer follows the routine of the for loop. So yeah, that should be it for this exercise. Sorry for my minor mistake. Let's move on to the next exercise. So we have exercise number 9. So reverse a given integer number. Okay, so there's a lot of reversing. But so let's try this one. So we're given the number 76542. So we're given number is equal to 76542. Okay, and the expected number is 24567. Okay, so we want 24567. Okay, and we're going to have another variable of number that we can use for us to update. So I'm just gonna name it reverse number, just so that I know what we're talking about, just to not get confused. And then I'm gonna print given number and then number. Okay, so we're gonna have the given number, and then after that we're gonna print the number. Okay, and then for this example, since we are trying to reverse the number, we're going to use a while loop. Okay, while loop, and we're going to set a condition until number is greater than 0. So until the following statement is false, we're going to print. And when it's true, we're always going to print. And then we're going to have reminder is equal to num modulo 10. Okay, so we're doing that. We're making the variable reminder is equal to number if it's divisible by 10, and then the remainder. Sorry, not the reminder. The remainder of number divided by 10 is going to be we're going to update the variable remainder to the remainder of this equation. So in the next step we have reverse number is equal to reverse number times 10. We're going to have the reverse number times 10 plus the remainder number. So we're going to have plus remainder. Okay, so we're going to have the reverse number times 10, which is 0 times 10 for now, and then plus remainder, and that will be whatever the remainder is. And then we're not done here. We have to update the number variable, right? Because we're later going to use this number variable as well. So number is equal to num divisible by 10. Okay, and remember what this does is not just dividing. You divide and you take out the decimal, you truncate the decimal, you just cut it off. So you do that, and then after that, you just print reversed number. It's not super specific of, yeah, it just wants 2, 4, 5, 6, 7. So reverse number, comma, reverse number. So if we do that and if we run it, it should print this. But I guess it's not like, it doesn't say that it wants this phrase. So, I mean, that's easy. We can just do print reverse number, and it should print 2, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay. So let me just briefly just this line. So you just have the reverse number and you do reverse number times 10, right? You're just reversing this number, so you're not going to change the number, you're just reversing it, and you plus the remainder, and then you divide it by 10, so that you get back what you did here, and then you print it. So that's it for this exercise. Well, sorry, let me just suddenly cross that. Okay. We were on exercise 10. Sorry about that. So going on, so find the sum of the series up to n terms. Write a program to calculate the sum of series up to n term. For example, if n is equal to 5, the series will become 2 plus 22 plus 222 plus 2,222 plus 22,222, and then you put the sum. So yeah, let's try this example. Okay. So we're going to start off with a variable, and I'm going to name the variable n is equal to, and what does this say? It says, for example, if n is equal to 5. So we're going to take this example. So the number of terms is n is equal to 5. So we're going to have it equal to 5. N is equal to 5. And then we want to have the first number of sequence. So we're going to have start is equal to 2. Okay, because we want to have the series of 2, right? There's a whole bunch of 2's here, as you can see. So we have 2, and then we're going to have sum sequence is equal to 0. Okay? And we're going to run a loop n times. So we have for I in range 0, comma n. Okay? We're going to start from 0, and we're going to end till n. And notice how we're not adding 1 here. We're just going to end it at n. And then we print start, comma, end is equal to parentheses, quotation mark plus. So we start with 2 plus, and then we keep iterating through and we add on to that code, right? And then we have sum sequence plus equals to start. So we're not going to just leave it as 2 plus, but we have to add it as 2 plus, and it keeps iterating. So 2 plus 2, 2, right? 2 plus 22. And then we calculate the next term. So now we're going to find the actual sum. So we have start is equal to start, and we do times 10 plus 2. And this is because you have start, you have the variable start, and you start times 10. It's going to use PEMDAS. It's going to do this first. You multiply it by 10. So 2 times 10 is 20 plus 22. So you're just making the next number. And then after that, you're just going to print the whole thing. So print and sum of above series is, comma, some sequence. So this basically just does it all. You're updating the subsequence variable here with the start, you're adding it and you're updating it, and then you change the number that you add. So 2 plus 22 plus 222 in this example, where you are multiplying it by 10 and adding 2 to the next number. So yeah, got it. And if you run this code, it says 2 plus 222, blah, blah. And then sum of series is 204, 24,690. Right. And then I think this is the last exercise. So exercise 11. Print the following pattern. Write a program to print the following start pattern using the for loop. Okay. So you have a star here. You have the asterisk. 2, 3, 4, 5, and after 5 it decrements again, right? So we have rows is equal to 5. We just want it to go to 5. And then for I in range, 0 comma rows. Okay, you're gonna start with 0 and you're gonna go till the end of the rows. Then you do for j in range and then 0 comma I plus 1, right? You want to have another for loop inside the for loop, and you do print, and you have the asterisk, right? That's the star that we want to print. And then we want to end the asterisk, the star, with a space always. So we have it like that. And then after that, we do print /r. Okay. And then we make another for loop. So this basically, we did it till we're like halfway there, and we have like a few more lines of code left. So we have for I in range, rows, comma, 0, comma, -1. Okay, so we start with the rows and then we end till 1, and we're decrementing. So we're going backwards. And then for j in range, 0 comma I -1. Okay, so you're gonna start with 1. You're gonna start with 0 and you do I -1, so you're gonna go backwards to index. And you print the star again. So as you can see, till here we went till 5, right? Rows till 5, and from here we're going backwards. So we're like decreasing again. So print asterisk, comma, end it with space. And then lastly, we end it with. So now if we run it, so basically this part of the code, you're going from 0 rows to 5 rows. So you have 1 star, and every row we increment it by 1. So we're gonna have 1 star on the first row, 2 stars on the second row, 3 stars on the third row, 4 stars on the fourth row, 5 stars on the fifth row. Okay, so we have it like that. Okay, so that's what this half of the code does. However, this half does, as you can see right here, we're decrementing by 1. So as you go down the row, you're going to remove each star. So you're gonna lower the stars, and you do it till you have 1 star left, and that is this exercise. So I think that is it for me, and I'll pass it on to Claire.
Okay, can everyone hear me? Okay. I'll share my screen and I'll be going over the simple project problems. Can everyone see my screen? Wait. Okay. Okay, so The first problem I'll go over is hidden word. So let me just read the problem. Consider a guessing game in which a player tries to guess a hidden word. The hidden word contains only capital letters and has a length known to the player. Basically, if you have a letter in your guess that is the same as the hidden word but in a different position, then you put a plus symbol, and then if a letter in your guess is not in the hidden word at all, then you use the asterisk symbol to express that. And so, for example, we're going to have an example word as harps, and then basically the method that we're going to be coding is going to be named getHint. So if we start to code this, I'm going to put all my code in a while true loop. So basically that means you can keep guessing until you get it right. So let me just start with a while true. And then let's just set our hidden word equal to harps, because that's the example in the problem. And then our guess is going to be the input. And then now I can start I can start programming for the actual method. So the method name is going to be getHint because that's what it said in the problem. And the parameter is just going to be the input, so the variable guess. And then let's just say the thing that we're going to be printing out. So basically the hint is going to be a string. So I'm just going to set it to an empty string for now. And then we're just going to be going through the index for the guess string. So for I in range of length of the guess string, basically we're going to be checking for each character in the string. So if guess and then the character at index I is equal to the character at the hidden word index I, then we're just going to be adding that character to the hint that we're going to be printing out. And then if the character in the guess is in the hidden word, but it isn't in the same position, then we're going to be using the plus symbol, and we're just going to add that to the hint. And if not, like if the letter is not in the hidden word at all, then we're just going to add the asterisk as the problem mentioned. And then finally for this method, what we want to do is return the answer. So return the string. So we're just going to do return answer at the end. And then now we actually have to use this method so that we can keep guessing the word. And so, first actually we need to check if the word is the same length, if the guess is the same length as the word. So I'm going to do an if statement. So if the length of the guess is not equal, um, if the length of the guess is not equal to the length of the hidden word, then we can print like invalid input. The guess should have the same length as the hidden word. And then, we just continue. And then now if we actually use the getHint method, we can do if getHint guess is equal to the hidden word, meaning that all of the letters matched up. And so basically the string that you get from getHint is the same as the original hidden word. And you can print like you got it. And then if you want, you can do like the word was, and then just show the answer at the end so that like whoever's doing this can see what the answer was. And then from here, you can actually break so that this indefinite loop like stops. And then if not, if the guess was not the hidden word, then you just print like the hint and then get hint. Okay, and then if we run this, um, basically it shows like this, and then you would like type in your answer, like say I put in happy, and then since the H, A, and the P, they matched up in location with the actual word, which is harps, we have those characters that are actually shown in the guess or in the hint. And then since the P here is in the word but in the wrong position, we have the plus symbol. And since there's no Y in the word harps, we just have an asterisk here. And you can see this keeps going because we haven't gotten the answer yet. So I'm just going to finish this quickly and say harps. And then our program stops running because we have the break here as soon as you actually get the word. And then we have the message that you get at the end, which is you got it, and the word was harps. So does anyone have if anyone has any questions about this problem, you can put them in the Q&A channel. And moving on to the next problem, which is rock, paper, scissors. Rock, paper, scissors is a game that involves two players in which each player chooses rock, paper, or scissors. And then if both players choose the same option, it's a tie. Otherwise, rock beats scissors, paper beats rock, and scissors beats rock. So basically, our problem is going to kind of simulate a rock, paper, scissors game. And so the computer is going to randomly choose rock, paper, or scissors, and you're going to be typing in rock, paper, or scissors. And then basically your program is going to show if you won, you lost, or it was a tie, depending on whatever you guys chose. And so let me just use the same one. So to start, what we want to do is import the random module because in order to use this random.choice, we have to import the random module or else we can't have the computer randomly choose between rock, paper, or scissors. So I'm just going to import the random module here. And then we can start coding. So I'm just going to define the person variable to be the input. So I guess we can prompt like type rock, paper, or scissors. And then just like that. And then basically this is going to be whatever you put into the program. So if you type in rock, then that's going to be stored under the variable person. Okay. So if you have a input that isn't rock, paper, scissors, then we basically need to exit the program or else the program isn't going to work because it has to be either rock, paper, scissors to basically simulate the game. So if person is not equal to rock and person is not equal to paper and person is not equal to scissors, then you can just exit the program. And this basically does the same thing as like the break function, except outside of a loop. And then if not, then we can just continue as normal. And so we can set a variable computer equal to a random choice between rock, paper, and scissors. Basically, here we're going to have the computer choose between rock, paper, scissors at random. So we're going to be using random.choice. And then we can continue. So first, we're going to check if there's going to be a tie. So if person is equal to computer, then it's going to be a tie game, and you can print tie game. if the now here I'm going to be using a bit of casework. So let's say um, I'm just going to be looking for all of the winning outcomes. So if person is equal to rock and computer is equal to scissors, then the person wins. Or if person is equal to paper and computer is equal to rock, then the person also wins. And the last instance of the person winning is if person equals scissors, and computer equals paper. And I'll just organize this a bit um, for purely aesthetic purposes. Okay. And then in this case, you can just print you win because the person wins because all of these are the three scenarios in which a person can win. And then if not, then that means the person lost because it's not a tie game and the person didn't win. So the else is just the person lost. So we just print you lose. And then at the very end, we want to print what the computer chose and what you chose. So we're going to do print you chose and then the person variable and the computer chose and then the computer variable because the person stores what the person chose, either rock, paper, scissors, and then the computer variable also stores either rock, paper, scissors. And this is the end of the program. So if we run it, it shows type rock, paper, scissors, and let's say I do rock. And I see in this case, the computer also chose rock, and so we printed out a tie game. Let's keep trying and see if the computer chooses anything else. Yeah, so in this case, the computer chose paper. So you can see that it's because of the random dot choice, the computer chooses randomly. So even if you put in the same input, the computer is going to choose something different every single time. So in this case, I also typed in rock, but because the computer chose paper this time, I lose because rock loses against paper. Okay, so those were the two simple project problems. And if you guys have any questions, again, put them in the Q&A channel. And that's all from me, I think. So I'll stop sharing. And then I think I pass this to Benjamin.
Yes, give me just like a couple seconds to set it up. Not gonna touch that. All right. So I'm gonna be going over the rest of the Python 1 questions that we went over before. So I I'm not sure where we made it to last time, but here we go. So I believe we went over question 12. Let me pull up my other stuffs. All right. Next, consider the expression. I think we were meant to start with 13, and that because that's what I remember. We'll start off with 13 here. Uh, yeah. Answers in chat. Ask away, and I'll be happy to answer right here in the Q&A section. So consider the expression. There's a equation here, and which of the following are valid? So remember, you can choose multiple All right, we got 1 and 3. Would that be the right answer? Who knows? But we got 1 and 3 for the first question. First answer. Any other answers? And we got another 1 and 3. Uh, 1 and 3. All right. So the correct answer is 1 and 3. Above expression is equivalent to a minus b times c plus d. So following the order of operations, it's multiplication first. So we do multiplication, and then we move from the start to back. So subtraction and then addition. So because this part was multiplication and was first anyways, it doesn't really matter where we put it. It's gonna be here. And then the rest of it is just following the order of operations. So first b times c is evaluated because it's first in order of operation. Remember, multiplication and division is gonna be first. Remember the term PEMDAS, standing for parentheses, exponents, multiplication, division, and floor division in our case, and addition, subtraction. That's what we're going through. And so it's b times c will be evaluated, followed by the subtraction, which is a minus whatever came out from b plus c here. Whatever came from b plus c here. And then we'll lastly go to the addition between whatever came out from here and then on to D. So our correct answer is 1 and 3. Next one, number 14, console. What is the result? Right, you got 1, 1, 1. Yep. It's a relatively simple question. Remember, anything divided by 1, it could be int and float, float int, float float, or int int. In this case, is integer integer. Does not matter. It will always print in a float form, which is 3.0 in our case. The correct answer is 1, 3.0. Next, question 15. You're writing a Python program that evaluates an arithmetic expression. Jesse seems to be moving well ahead. The expression is described as b is equal to equals or multiplied by -1, then raised to the second power, where a is the value which will be input and b is the result. So the following is valid expression for the requirement. What is the answer? So we got 2 3s, 3 3s. Yep, so you guys are all correct. But first we have to do multiply by -1, so it has to be number 3 because this one does it at the end after the exponent is done. So at the very very end. This is not our equation. This one does not make sense at all. This one is exponent of -2, which is not exponent of 2, but rather the negative exponent, which means it's a root of a. So this is also totally wrong. So the correct answer is in fact 3. So to tidy up a bit here, the correct answer is 3. All right, next. Consider the code. So we have a numbers as a list that considers 10, 20, 30, and 40. X is 0, which in case will 10 print. You have 4 options, multiple choice again. You guys can choose multiple. So there might be more than one correct answers. The guesses I got are 3, 1, 1, 2, and 3. Okay. You got a 2. All right. Yeah, if you guys can only find one, giving me one of them is just fine. I'll take anything as an answer. So the correct answer for this question is 2 and 3. So if you look at the code, remember numbers is going up from 10 to 40, and then x starts with 0. So if we look at number 1, I in numbers, x equals x plus 10. This just adds x every time it goes through 30, 40, and 50. So every time it iterates through a list, which in this case it does 3 times, it will add 10 to x. So it will become 10, 20, and 30, which is not what we're looking for. So nope. So, and then for I in 30, 40, 50, iterating 3 times again, if I is not in numbers, x equals x plus 10. So let's go, oops. Okay. Let's go back up to numbers here. If I is not in number, is 30 in numbers? Yes, it is. Is 40 in number? Yes, it is. Is 50 in number? No, it's not. So x is done, this one is done once when I is 50. That's the only case where I is not in numbers. So x is 10 at the last iteration. Therefore, printing x is also going to give you 10. So that's one done. And then secondly, number 3. So for I in 30, 40, 50 again, if I is in numbers, x equals x plus 5. It's not 10, it's 5 now. So the difference is now, so if first iteration, I is 30. 30 is in numbers. So x is now 5. And then second iteration, I is now 40. Is 40 in numbers? Yes, it is. So now x becomes x becomes 5 plus 5, which is now 10. And is 50 in numbers? No, it's not. So it stops at 10. So printing x will also give you 10 again. And then for the last one, 30, 40, 50, if I is not in numbers, basically this one but flipped. So what this does is for 30, it is in numbers. So this one skips. For 40, it's also still in numbers, not in numbers. So it also skips again. At I is 50, it is finally not in the list numbers here. So x is x plus 5. So the answer would be 5, not 10. All right, next question. Consider the code. Which of the following code is valid to print congratulation message? You got a bunch of code here. How do you print the congratulation message? Remember, this is 2 input statements, so you're going to input something here. We're going to take in something. And number 3. Number 3 again. Actually, I'll show you guys this how it looks in code form. Yep, so the correct answer is 3. So if you look at the code here, remember, start and end are both strings when they're first taken in. They're not integers, so you cannot minus them normally. And you cannot add them either in a normal integer sense. It's going to add strings, not in a mathematical sense. So first step is turning them into integers, which we did here. Int end, int start. Now you got the actual correctly calculated number. But because this is a plus sign, we need to turn it back into a string. So we do here, turn it back into a string. So this is the correct answer. For this one, it will error because you cannot minus a string. You cannot subtract from a string to a string. Impossible. Also, the same reason, this int runs after this inside has ran. So if it already gives you an error here, it's never going to make it to the integer here. So that's also an error. So this one's also not, this one's not. And then finally, for the last one, int end, int start. So mathematically, the number is correct. However, we never turn it back to a string here. And because it's a plus sign here, it will error out if the two things are a different, at least in this case, if it's a string and a non-string, it will error out. If it was instead a comma, it would have worked, but because it's a plus sign, it does not work. So the correct answer is 3. Question 18. Which of the following expression will generate max value? Which of these four give you the biggest value? We got 3, 3, 3. We got a 2. Okay, a different answer. All right, interesting. So we have a major disagreement in chat. So the correct answer for this one is actually 2. So let's go each one by one. 8% 8 mod 3. Remember, modulus or mod or the percent sign, whichever you want to call it, is in the same order. It's in the same class of order as multiplication, division, and floor division is. They're all, if all four of them are there, or if any of them are in combination, whatever is at the most front comes first. So since modulus is part of that family, it goes in order. So 8 modulus 3 is 2. 8 divided by 3, the remainder is 2. And then that times 4 is 8 now. So that is 8. 8 divided by 3 times 4. Remember, this division gives you not the integer, but the float number. So 8 divided by 3 is around, let me actually check again. So 8 divided by 3 is 2.6666 repeating. Give me a thought, please. Yes. Repeating. So we get 2.666 and then multiply that times 4, and it gives us the end value of around 10.6. 10 point, oh my god. 10.666. So that's what it is for the second answer. For the third one, it is subtraction. It follows the order of operations. So 3 times 4 actually goes first. So it's 8 minus 12, because 3 times 4 is 12. That gives us negative 4, which is the lowest. We're looking for the max value here. And then 8 floor division 3 times 4. 8 floor division 3 is 2. Multiply that by 4 is 8. So the biggest is obviously number 2 here, with a lot of 3s. Remember, the order of operation states multiplication goes before subtraction. Same as for Python. So the correct answer is number 2. Number 19, you're developing a Python application for your company with a similar question before, not quite the same. 500 employee names. Which case will get an index error? So which one will get an error? Remember, there's none of the above as option here, so keep that in mind. So we got the answer number 3. All right. None of the above. Everything will work. Any other answers? We got a number 2. Okay. Just say things. Number 2, employees minus 10 to 10 is gonna error out. We got another number 2, negative 10 to 10 is gonna error out. So remember, a list name employees contains 500 employee names. It goes from index 0 to 499. It goes from 0 to 499. What is the correct answer? All right, we got 2 2s. The correct answer is actually, oh, we got a 3. Yes, it is in fact 3. So if you guys tried this in code, it would be pretty easier. But the gist is, at least in Python, this is different in other languages. Some languages don't allow this, but at least in Python, if you go over the limit, which is done here, remember it goes from 0 to 499. So 501 is over the limit. 1000 is far over the limit. But both of them works. Python does not care if you go over the limit. It will just end at whatever the ending is if it ever goes over the limit. So if it says 1 to 1000, right? It will just start from 1. So the second place, it will start from the second place to the 500th place. So index 1 from 1 to 499, and then it will stop. Doesn't matter, it will not error. Same for this one. It's meant to go from 0 to 499, but there's 2 extra. There's 500 and 501. Both will work, no problem. This one obviously works because it's just going through the reverse, and then it will, once it gets the 10 last indexes, it will go back to the start and then start from 0 and then go all the way to 10. So it will work just fine. The correct answer is, in fact, number 3. None of the above. Good guesses, though. Nice. Question 20. Consider the code. Python s equals Python is easy. You're printing stuff. What is the result? Where does what does give using that double colon and an empty one at the end of it, where does that get you? We got a 3, we got a 2. There are 5 answers total, so might be slightly confusing. Two, two, two. 2. All right, we got 4 2s. The correct answer is, in fact, 2. The reason why is so so the total length of this I guess string is, it is 14. So when it does -7, if we go back 1 each, we get 1 2 3 4 5 6 7. We started I. So we first do is easy. This part comes first. And after that, we do -4. So S1 is easy, including the space here. For S2, it's -4. So 1 2 3 4. It's EASY. So no space here. It's just EASY. So what does that do? If you do add S1 and S2, it comes is easy. And then just adds easy on the end. No spaces because it's a plus here. So the correct answer is 2. All right. Thank you guys for listening. I'm gonna hand this over to our next presenter, next teacher here. Thank you.
Okay, let me just set it up really quick. Okay. All right, so question 21. You guys can just type the answer, what you guys think in the Q&A chat, and I'll see. You have the following code: A is equal to 3, B is equal to 5, A is plus or equal to 2 to the power of 3, A minus equal to B divided by 2 divided by 3, print A. What is the result? Yeah, and this might take a little bit of time, so I'll wait. If you guys can go, okay, got one answer, 2, 3, 2, 11, okay. All right, so the correct answer is actually 11, 2. Yes, so those of you guys who said that, great. So I'll do it really quick. I'll go over it really quick right here. So A is equal to 3, right? So we have A is plus or equal to 2 to the power of 3. So 2 to the power of 3 is the same thing as 2 times 2 times 2. So that's 2 times 2, 4 times 2, which is 8, right? So we do 8, and then we do 8 plus we do 8 plus A, so 3 plus 8. So that's 11. And then yeah, we have 11. And then we have 5 modulo 2, so that's 2 modulo 3, so that's 0, right? So we do print A, and we should be printing 11. So good job. Question 22. I'll also give you guys time to do this one. Go ahead and type what you think it is in the Q&A chat. Or 4. Wow, you guys are fast. 4. All right, so the answer is actually 4. It is 5. I think you guys all got it. I'll just go over really quick again. So, if you plug it in, you do 8. You have to always follow PEMDAS. So yeah, 10 modulo 2, 0 to the power of 2, 0. And then you have 8 divided by 3, so that's 2. And then you do times 3, 2 times 3, so that's 6 divided by 2. So that's 3. And then that times plus 2, so you get 5.0. And then you do division, so you have to put the 0.0. So good job. Yes, that is correct. Nice. You guys can try question 23 as well. 3, 3, 3, 3. Wow, yes, it is 3. So as you can see, age is equal to 0. 0 is a integer. False, anything true or false is Boolean, and then anything under quotation mark is string. So therefore it is 3. How about this question? Question 24. There's 2 answers for this one. One and 2. Three and 4. Two and 3. All right, I'll go over it for the sake of time. So the answer is actually 3 and 4. So one person got it right, I think, but that's okay. So I'll go over it. So which of the following code snippet will produce the following output? Boy, cat, dog, right? So if we look here, we're doing for x and L, right? So we're iterating through it, and if length of x is not equal to 3, print x. So as clearly here, you're not going to print anything like boy, cat, or dog. Because it's saying if length is not equal to 3, right? So you just do it till x isn't equal to 3, and you're printing x, so you're just going to print that one thing. So I mean, you're going to print a number here too. So no, you're not going to print a number, sorry. You're not going to print the following code snippet that we want. That's what I meant. So it wouldn't be 1. Number 2, L is equal to apple, boy, cat, dog for x in L, and you print x. So you're just saying if that's in the list, you're gonna print it, and for everything it is. So you're just gonna be able to you're gonna just print everything. So that's not what we want. For x in L, if length of x is equal to 3, print x, right? So we're going to print it till it gets to 3, and that is what we want. We want to print apple, boy, and cat. Boy, cat, and dog. So we don't print the first one, right? So that's why we get this one. And this one, we have for x in for x in the list 1, right? List 1 is equal to the list from 1. So it's boy, cat, dog. And if it's in there, print x. So the new L1 is boy, cat, dog. So you're just printing boy, cat, dog. So that is why it's 3 and 4. Right, number 25. Consider the list. List is equal to apple, banana, carrot, mango. Which of the following are valid ways of accessing mango? There are 2 answers. 2, 3, 2, 3. Good. So it is 2, 3. So it's not it's 2, 3 because first of all there's no list 4. Like this is index 0 and this ends at 3, so list 4 doesn't like list bracket 4, index 4 doesn't exist, so it wouldn't be this one. And then list 0, you're gonna just be printing apple, right? You're not gonna be printing anything else. List -1, -1 always accesses the last thing in the whole list, and then list 3, that's also mango. Question 26. There is only one answer. And please type it in the Q&A chat if you guys finish solving it. Three. Got 2 answers. 3. 3. All right. So the correct answer is actually 3. And you guys all got it right. So I'll just explain it just briefly. X is Y because X Durga is Y Durga, and it is equal to each other, so X is Y. Yeah, very good. Which of the following cases we will get the same result? There's 3 answers, so you have a very high chance of getting this. So there's 3. Just pick 3, 4. So yeah, 1, 2 is correct, but there's 3 answers. So 1, 2, and which one? There's another one. One, two, four. I'm getting a lot of 1, 2, 4s. Oh. Okay, I guess I'll go over it. So, it's actually 1, 2, and 3. So 1, 2, I think you guys all got. So I'll just so which of the following cases will get the same result? So 3 to the power of 1 is 3, right? And then 23 divided by 5, okay? 23 modulo 5, right? So 23 modulo 5, you get, so when you do 23 divided by 4, divided by 5, you get 4 point something, right? So 23 modulo 5 would be, the remainder of this would be 3, because 20 is divisible by 5, so it would be 0 if it was 20 modulo 5. However, there's 3, so you have a remainder of 3. So you get equal to 3. And these 3 all, 1, 2, and 3 all get the answer of 3. So it'll be the first 3. Try to do this one. There's only one answer for this one, and then send it in the Q&A chat. Daniel, one answer. 4. 4. Okay. So the answer is 4. Let me go over it just in case. No, but some of you guys didn't get it. So what results as -4? So we do a plus b. So a plus b, 1 plus 2, right? And then divided by 6 minus 4. So 6 minus 4 is 2. And the a plus b is 3. So 3 divided by, sorry, let me do this. So we have a plus b. I'm gonna do, okay. So this one it results in -4. If you plug everything in, it results in -4. However, all 3 of these results as 0. So that's basically why it's this last one. You just have to plug it in and you will see it. So yeah, for the sake of time, I'll just move on to the next one. Please, you guys can try this one too, and send in the Q&A chat. 3. Okay, we got 3. We got another 3. So let me just go over it. So the result and then plus string and then integer x, right? So we put the our first number and then second number, and we have to add those and we get the string of them. So basically, so if you do integer of x plus integer of y, you're basically adding these two and you take it into a string, right? And you have to always, if you want to add 2 strings, you have to convert it to, if you want to add something together, then it has to both be strings. So because they converted to a string and they're adding it with the result, that's how you add this given number. So C would be the correct answer to this problem. All right, question 30. You're developing a Python application for your company. A list named employees contains 500 employee names. In which cases we will get index error while accessing employee names? This one is a pretty straightforward one, but it might be a bit confusing. Index error. 3, I got 3, I got 1. So, I'll go over it. So it's actually 1. And so if you're trying to access list elements without like range index, then we will get index error. So in the above example, list contains 500 names, right? So the valid positive index range is from 0 to 499 because 500 isn't included. So it's basically the same thing as -1 to -500. So therefore, if you have employees 500, then it would get an index error because basically it doesn't really exist, right? So that's why it's an index error and not any other. It's an index error because it's an error within the index, right? Next question, question 31. Which of the following is valid Python operator precedence order? Precedence order. So try and send it in the Q&A chat. So I got 4, I got 3. Or okay, so I'll go over it. So, which of the following is in precedence order? So it's actually 1. Um, so this is just explaining the rule of PEMDAS. So it's always parentheses exponents, right? So these two are already out. 2 and 3 are out, right? But if we have 1 and 4, which I think a lot of you guys thought it was 4, it says everything's the same. It just has addition and subtraction before multiplication and division. And PEMDAS, it's parentheses exponent and then multiplication division. M and D goes before A and S, okay? So multiplication and division, it always goes before addition and subtraction, including in math and also in Python. So yeah, that's good information to keep in mind. Question 32. You guys can try and send it to me in the chat. So I got 3. I got another 3. Just 3, or do I have other answers? Any other answers? Right, so I'm just gonna say that you guys all put 3. It is actually 4. It is actually C. So I'll explain why it's not A, okay? So A is equal to Boolean false. Okay, so although it says false, you guys have to notice that it's in a list. It's in square bracket, right? So because it's in square bracket, for it to return false in a list, it has to be an empty square bracket, empty list. However, there's something inside the list. So therefore, although it says false, it's going to return true. Okay? And C, as you can see, it's a string, it's quotation mark, but there's nothing in it. So because there's nothing in it, it will return false. So that's why it's the last one. I think we have time for one more question. So I want you guys to go ahead and try this one. This is a pretty simple, straightforward one. Three. So you guys can go ahead and send it. So I got 3, 3, 3. All right. No more answers. Any other answers? That's okay. So it is actually 2, not 3. So as you can see, you guys all got it right with float and string for these two. As you can see, 62.4, it's a decimal, so it's a float. And number 2, zip, it's in quotation marks, so it's a string. However, number 3, it's a value plus 23E4, right? So E4 is 23 to the power, okay? I guess it just, you could say it abbreviates for exponent. And so if you add that to something, because you're basically putting it to an exponent, and you add it to the value, it becomes a float, it becomes a decimal, okay? So that's why it's not, you guys said 3, it's not a string, it's a float, because this is not a string, it's a decimal. So that is it for me today, and I'll pass it on to whoever is sending it. So let me just stop screen share.
Okay. So yeah, that is it for today, guys. So if you guys have any questions, remember you guys can leave it in the Q&A chat. We don't have homework today. So you guys are now free to go, and we'll see you in the next lesson. Bye, guys.